Right, some news to report, and that is that sources are telling us that Andrew Yang is planning to suspend his campaign. He's planning to do so in the speech that he will give in New Hampshire.
What?
In about 15 minutes.
No.
This, as you can imagine, was not an easy decision.
It's all coming out, but it's over.
Yeah. He literally came from nowhere. Nobody had ever heard of him.
No.
And he got to the debate stage, and he got higher in the polls than several elected officials, very well-known names.
Beautiful, and you all feel it. You're all here because you feel it. And you feel, I don't know what it is. Nobody does, right? But you taste it, you feel it. And tonight, we sparked the flame.
Yes.
And it's gonna grow. And guess what, guys? Because of you, we're like, hey, let's raise $1.5 million. Boom, $1.5 million.
It is my distinct honor to welcome to the stage Mr. Andrew Yang.
If we work our hearts out, we can show our fellow Americans that we still live in a democracy, that people matter more than money, and that if we put everything we have into it, we can still build a country that we are proud of to leave for our children.
I will never forget that meeting. I'm like, so what are you up to? And you said, I think I'm gonna run for president. When I realized you were serious, I remember getting up and giving you a hug because I was like, this is so unbelievably bold and brave and beautiful. And when you think about it in respects of where we are as a nation, we've gotta be thinking bold. We gotta be thinking brave on this stuff.
That was a moment I'll never forget. He's like, yeah, so I'm thinking of running for president. What do you think? I was thinking like that would be amazing. Like the potential there.
To step out of your life and be part of something like this, that's the essence of a kind of democracy that I want to live in. And I feel like I'm surrounded by it, so I'm just moved and inspired and touched every single fucking day.
When was that?
This was late summer 2017. And he's like, I'm running for president. And we're like, of the country? Of America? Like, what? Literally immediately, I was like, I'd love to help, man. What's going on? He's like, great, you can come run my campaign. The beginning was crazy. We had no one on the team with campaign experience.
All right, we're winging it.
So we started in Andrew's mom's apartment. It was me and like 3 or 4 others. Everybody did everything in the beginning.
Perfect.
Our first trip to New Hampshire, no one showed up. I think a couple reporters showed up because they had nothing to do.
I'm running for president.
Oh, running for president? President for Charleston?
President of the United States of America.
We probably should have taken a breather, but we were exhausted. We had campaigned our ass off. Driving to New Hampshire, flying to Iowa, no one's there, no one cares about you, you're completely unknown, you're hustling for $2,800 donations. We're just grinding all day, every day, with no resources and no recognition. And all the things you needed to be a successful presidential candidate, we had none for a year and a half.
Back in February of 2018, there was a story entitled "The Robots Are Coming."
Ah, yeah.
And it was an article talking about this young Asian gentleman who had just entered into the 2020 presidential race. In my mind, I'm thinking, who's even thinking about 2020 right now? I've been around politics enough to know what political rhetoric is. I literally wrote to the campaign, said, I don't know who you are, sir, but we need people who are talking about solutions. Maybe about 15 minutes later, Andrew wrote me back himself. It was something like, Andrew Yang at Gmail. I was like, it turns out it was him. That was it. I mean, I've just been on the train ever since.
So we go on Sam Harris. The next thing you know, we've got hundreds of people coming to Andrew Yang events around the country. Bigger than most of the contenders at the time, by the way.
We have to have our own vision and have the courage to say, if we invest in ourselves, then we will all win.
It's about unconditional love for ourselves, for our neighbors, for our families, for our communities.
Our political system is completely broken and dysfunctional. There are giant pipes clogged with money, and there's nothing most anyone can do about it. But there's a vulnerability in the system. I know you might think history is going to take its own direction, but if you all decide to set a path for the country, that's the way it's going to go.
We always felt like if I know anything about this campaign, we'll get it at exactly the right time. And then we get on Joe Rogan. We go there in February.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, universal basic income. I made a big shift. My initial knee-jerk reaction was, get the fuck out of here. Like, universal basic income, just going to give people money. They're just going to be lazy. Nothing's ever going to get done. That's a terrible idea. And then I started paying attention.
I saw the Joe Rogan podcast like everyone else. Just so happened to have been talking a bit about UBI a couple of days prior. And about how non-feasible it was.
The concept sounded crazy.
I didn't believe in UBI first. I thought it was ridiculous.
I thought it was a joke.
I rolled my eyes.
I thought it was super gimmicky.
I was kind of put off. Every article I found was like, oh, he's a joke candidate.
$1,000 a month was insane. This guy is a complete socialist idiot who doesn't know what the heck he's talking about.
You can't just give people money. It doesn't make any sense.
We started watching thinking, oh, we'll just watch 10 minutes of it. We couldn't get off the couch. We were glued.
I went on his website, read policy after policy, and I was floored. He wouldn't stop making sense to me.
Yang changed my mind with facts.
Every time I hear that, it just never gets old.
My buddy calls me up about a week later and said, hey, they're looking for people to do ride-alongs. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do a ride-along with this guy. Then I called him back. I said, you know what? Book it. I'm going to get this socialist in my truck. Like, he doesn't know squat.
You'll convert him.
Yeah. So about 2 weeks before the meeting, I do a deep dive to know thy enemy. When I listened to the book, I just knew that most of everything that he said was true.
It's not something that people intuitively suspect could be a real issue either. It's one of the ones where you kind of have to like shake people like, hey, look at this. This is coming. We're going towards this cliff.
It's darker still. It's not this speculative future. It's that we've been doing this for years. And that's why universal basic income is so crucial, because it gets the boot off of people's throats and it replaces the mindset of scarcity with a mindset of abundance, rationality, and optimism.
So you did a fair amount of research before the ride-along.
Correct. As a matter of fact, when he stepped out of the car, I said, hey, I'm going to give you a shot. And I know that he can win.
The stages of Yang, they say. It's funny how accurate that is. You first see him and you're like, what's this guy? What's he on about? That's nonsense. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. I don't know, maybe this is something. You like start to do some digging, and by the time you start to come around on it, it's like, wow, this guy has great ideas, and you just kind of can't stop. I watched like every interview. Honestly, I was blown away.
So far beyond UBI.
I don't ever have to mention UBI and still explain to you why Yang is probably a once-in-a-generation type candidate.
He's got literally over 100 detailed proposals. He's not ideological, he's data-driven. He doesn't care where an idea comes from as long as it's a good idea, and I really like that. I've never seen anybody like that.
I was very impressed of how nuanced Yang was.
His quickness is at a caliber that I've never seen from any politician.
I'm like, there's a presidential candidate wearing a hat that says math on it? And then they said that it stands for Make America Think Harder. I'm like, yes.
Never heard a politician or just anyone give this incredible macro perspective of what was going on in our country.
Things that we should be talking about on a macro level, but we're just not.
There have been studies as to what happens to your mind when you can't pay your bills. It actually constrains your bandwidth to a point that your functional IQ goes down by 13 points. We're actually making our population less rational, less reasonable, more impulsive, nastier, more subject to things like racism and misogyny too. You're actually more likely to be like, yeah, blame them.
We exist within a scarcity system right now. It is just a bunch of primates clawing after each other over what we consider to be a limited amount of resources, chronic stress, and these hierarchies where you've got like extreme inequality and when there's a big control structure, and people are very stressed out.
Tense, anxious, stressed people are not at their best. So anything that helps people thrive allows people greater access to their own creativity and productivity.
Make them sleep better, function better. Imagine how much that would change the vibe of our country.
Imagine increasing the collective IQ of the United States of America by 13 points.
And it was just like cogs in my head clicked into place. That dude has to be the next president of America. That would benefit the entire planet.
Whose responsibility is it to go tell the people, look, We need to make it so that it's not this hyper-concentrated set of winners and then this huge army of relative losers, and it's the government's job. But at this point, we've given up on our government, like, it can't really do anything, and so now it's no one's job. And so somehow it has become my job, and it blows my mind too sometimes.
I'm very cynical about politicians. Hearing you on Joe Rogan was such a breath of fresh air.
You saw him in the early days when the crowds weren't 5,000 people.
This was like 5 people in a diner.
Including the waitress.
Yeah. I knew then, as much as I knew now, that he could win.
Immediately, I just knew it. This guy is going to win. This guy's going to rise all the way up.
This guy can win. I know that this guy can win.
When Andrew Yang went on the Joe Rogan podcast, he had 34,000 followers on Twitter. That podcast put him over 150,000. Like, that podcast alone. Like, nobody knew who this guy was. He's been running for 2 years.
2 days later, the DNC announces their requirements for the first debate.
Requirements.
So the next thing you know, we've got Rogan people. We qualify for the debate before like 75% of the field. Like, it's like Bernie, Warren, Kamala, Yang. We still didn't have a lot of money. No email list, no donor base, no real national profile whatsoever. But right after, we're like, we're not going to not capitalize this. So we went on a tour. We did a ton of rallies, and our first 1,000-person rally was in San Francisco. And then, like, Vanity Fair came out and said Yang Mentum. Like, we had massive rallies. So then we did Seattle. We did that was huge. That was our one. I think actually our biggest one. New York was massive. It was pouring rain, and like almost 5,000 people showed up. The press was not really covering us. The San Francisco Chronicle was one of the first times it was Andrew Yang's name in the headline and not this Democratic candidate. Never heard of Andrew Yang? You will soon. Like, that was Washington Post.
And then you get on the national debate stage. What was that transition like?
You got some major heavy hitters on the stage, including yourself. I'll give you your own. The most unique person on the stage.
We had never debated before. It's not a debate. Nothing we could have done would have prepared us for that. Nothing.
I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, "It's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans." That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. He's still right today. If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch.
I'm still holding on to that torch.
In order to win a debate, you have to be a lot of things Andrew Yang is not. You have to be combative.
Senator Harris, I'm so sorry. We will let all of you speak. Senator Harris.
You have to steal the limelight. You have to attack people.
I accept responsibility for that because I'm in charge.
Policy, you should fire the chief.
Under Indiana law, this will be investigated.
You're the mayor, you should fire the chief.
You have to crush people that you don't even necessarily disagree with.
I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. It was hurtful to hear you talk about 2 United States senators who built their reputations on the segregation of race in this country.
Did not praise racist. That is not true.
You need to be showman. You need to be salesy. Like all the things, Andrew, that we love Andrew because he is not. That's what a great debater is.
It's part of Joe's generation.
What was it actually like, human to human, being on that stage in this really fake place where you have to make your case? I mean, what is that experience actually physically like?
How many of you were in high school play? It really is quite like that.
The night of debate 1, that was a dark night. People who had been in since February when he was on Rogan, we were working to get him on the debate stage, and then debate 1 is a total disaster.
I was taken a little bit off guard by all of this. This frustrates me.
Looking back after those 2 nights, it's clear the 3 or 4 candidates they want and the ones they don't.
I was like decked out in my Yang stuff and I was ready for him to just dominate, and then he talks for like 2 minutes. Such a demoralizing night.
This is really disheartening to me. He got the least amount of speaking time from both nights.
They only asked him about 2 things, one of which was China.
Really unfortunate. The guy has a lot to say.
Kind of really frustrating because this is a guy who actually has more to say on all of these topics. Not really happy with the media at the moment, but this campaign was never going to be easy. The fact that he can match Buttigieg and Harris in comparable search activity, even though he had just a fraction of their airtime, tells me that this is a high potency candidate and he just needs a little bit more oxygen, and then we'll light this up.
I found you on YouTube. I'm just looking for who else was doing this, and I found 10. How'd you find them?
I was just like hanging out with my family, and
My dad was like, did you see the Democratic? And I was like, no, I didn't. He was like, I was really annoyed that the Asian guy only got asked 2 questions. I got so annoyed that I sent a note in to MSNBC and I donated more to his campaign. And I was like, interesting. I'm not really political, so I don't really care. But then that got me to just search for him on YouTube. A light bulb switched off in my head. I'm like, this guy needs more exposure. We need this guy as president.
The debates really are such a nightmare.
They focus so much on the drama. They want it. They want you to get into an argument with Joe Biden.
I mean, what a farce. What's your message to people like me and most people who just feel disengaged because it feels just impossible?
Whatever sense of unease you have is probably the least of it. Like, things are worse than even most people believe.
So the first debate, we didn't light the world on fire. We were just there. And so then if you recall the Detroit debate, he broke the fourth wall at the end. We're like, we're going to call this out. And then he took off.
You know what the talking heads couldn't stop talking about after the last debate? It's not the fact that I'm somehow number 4 on the stage in national polling. It was the fact that I wasn't wearing a tie. Instead of talking about automation and our future, we're up here with makeup on our faces and our rehearsed attack lines, playing roles in this reality TV show.
It landed so perfectly. He just called out the game and exposed what a farce a lot of the elements of our political theater really are.
How many of you were here in New Hampshire 10 years ago? How was the financial crisis here in 2009? You don't remember 10 years ago. Come on, how old are you now?
I know it was rough. My parents had to sell off their house.
And that's the dark part for all of us. We sense that there's really limited accountability in DC. You can screw something up and you keep your job.
It's like everyone feels that something's wrong.
I think a lot of people sense, oh, there's something wrong. What is it?
But very few people are willing to do anything about it.
People here get it. And they understand that if we don't find a way to fix this democracy, all of the issues people are talking about are just hopes.
We have lost confidence in our government.
I think we're dealing with peak cynicism right now. It makes you start to feel hopeless and helpless.
It's not irrational to wash your hands of politics because it's so infuriating and everything seems so ineffective. One of the big fears I have is that politics has become this drama of characters rising and falling, but none of the real problems get solved.
I don't think the institutions have faced up to just how dire our situation
No, they have not.
is. That the institutions were built in an era where things were growing rapidly. The growth pattern changed a heck of a long time ago.
Why are people feeling so purposeless, so nihilistic?
They were in a period of vast disillusionment. If you came of age in another era, they would say, if you do this, then it's going to work out. And then now we just don't believe any of it.
Right.
Now you go to college, part of you is like, well, you're just going to load me up with debt. I'm going to graduate. I'm not going to have the job. Whereas before, maybe that promise actually was real. Our economy has stopped producing quality jobs with benefits for years and years. When they come out of school, they're entering a really punishing economy. And on some level, they all kind of sense this. It's not just in people's heads.
Yeah.
If we cling to this notion that everyone's going to work a 9 to 5, it's going to work out for fewer and fewer people over time. People look around and say, I don't believe in our institutions. I don't believe in what my future holds. And then you become subject to all sorts of sinister ideologies.
Prospects are bleak.
Yeah, the numbers bear it out, too. If you look at the economy of the 70s, you had a certain level of buying power among the middle class and certain split. The lines started to diverge starting in the 70s, and now they're incredibly divergent. Middle class incomes essentially unchanged. People at the very top absorbing more and more of the gains in the winner-take-all economy. But we all pretend like it's still the 70s. You can see the disconnect in the lived experience of most Americans. Washington, D.C. chews up and spits out idealists. It does. It's a total mess. Good people go into government, they get stuck like flies in amber because the system is just designed to keep you from getting anything done.
You and I, we've been to the top of the political mountain. We've met the leaders. We've met the people that are supposed to be saving us. And I promise you, the cavalry's not coming. This is it.
I don't fault people for the incentives that have formed them. The goal has to be to bring in patriots who understand that they're not going to have an enjoyable time trying to turn the battleship, but that if they turn the battleship 3 degrees to the right, they can do more good.
What we're talking about is a revenge of competency, a revenge of genius, a revenge of people who actually know how to do things, who are ready and want to be mobilized, who've been sitting with major league skills in the minors or worse.
You see us running out of time, and you felt compelled from urgency to run for president. And I actually think you've got a shot. I really do.
Thank you.
You're on a trajectory. The last debate, you cut through the bullshit masterfully, and I very much look forward to seeing you on that stage again.
I think that is the thing that he has really inspired among a certain subset of people who didn't really care. They're all of a sudden like, wait a second, you're giving me reason to actually care. What you're proposing is being able to have a government that actually works for us. That's something I've never heard before, but that is what it should be. An awakening almost.
It's going to be very, very difficult. But I think we can do it if enough of us get together and say, look, we're sick and tired of politics as usual. And it's very tempting to then demonize people on the other end of it. But what we have to do is we have to focus on fixing the system that is dehumanizing various people, turning them into economic actors. And you can all feel it. Like, we're all heading in that direction. That's why I'm running for president. I'm not running for president because I fantasized about ever being president. I'm running for president because I'm an American and I'm a parent, and I can see the country we will leave to our children, and it is not something that I'm willing to accept.
Because I'm not going to look him in the eye and say that Dad didn't fight for you. Dad wasn't willing to go stand in the ring for you. You're goddamn right I am.
Hell yeah.
Our kids are not going to go hungry. They're not going to experience poverty because I'm here with my brother and sister veterans, and we're not giving up an inch of this ground until we get President Gang elected.
Woo! That is a hell of a statement. We're just scratching the surface of the magnitude of this problem. While I was getting accolades and awards for creating several thousand jobs, our economy shed 4 million that were centered in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Battleground states, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan.
You go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, and you will see devastation.
All of the places that have been hit hardest by automation, also the swing states that Hillary Clinton lost.
So he was like, we're going to make America great again. And then the Democratic response was, America's already great. No, things are not great. Here are some things that are all-time highs: suicide, drug overdoses, anxiety and depression, mental problems, financial insecurity. Here are things that are at all-time lows: getting married, starting a business, having a kid. There are all these interrelated problems. One thing I'm saying to people is like, look, it's not immigrants that are taking these jobs away. Just facts. It is not immigrants. Amazon soaking up the business that used to go to your mall. If you go to their fulfillment center, it's robots as far as the eye can see. As that value takes off, if we're in position to see zero of it, then we're
just left behind.
Yes, and beneficiaries are the biggest tech companies. They pay zero or next to zero in taxes. So as they soak up more and more value, we're looking around being like, what's going on? Where'd the money go? Where are the jobs? The top companies are running around our government like our government is a bunch of clumsy children. DC is not exactly like this tech hub.
No, no.
This is the problem. You have legislators who don't have incentives around solving problems. They have incentives around raising money, avoiding controversy, making sure they don't get challenged. They got rid of the office that assessed technology in 1995. We're not going to have a functioning society or democracy if we don't start giving ourselves more control over what's happening. It's one reason why people have this sense of foreboding. DC doesn't have its act together. The burden of proof is on the government to demonstrate that it can actually solve meaningful problems, because unfortunately many Americans have completely lost faith that that's possible. Like, guys, it's not your imagination. We actually are getting rid of the most common jobs in the US economy and then replacing them with a handful of jobs for higher skilled people in different places.
We automated away our office staff. You can't have 10 incredibly wealthy people and all the rest of us are starving. If you can see that coming, why not act now?
I grew up in the town where most of the power in the country comes from. And when the government pulled out, the town went from this amazingly flourishing community to one of the most terrible places in the country.
The opioid epidemic, a third of the people there living below the poverty line.
The drug use is rampant. The lack of purpose, the lack of optimism.
Folks got desperate and the town collapsed on itself, and opioid addiction and depression and anxiety. My town has never recovered.
The economy of the town I grew up in has not recovered.
It's decimated. It's like time has stopped.
I started imagining what a universal basic income would do for my community, and it would save it.
UBI would completely revolutionise and change that whole town.
All I could think about was how that might have changed our situation as a community.
If you imagine what $12,000 a year would mean in a town of 100,000, you're talking about $12 million a month that's coming through that town. That doesn't just help the individuals, that supercharges local businesses, nonprofits, the volunteer organizations, and then it creates a virtuous cycle.
I live in rural Ohio, smack dab in the middle of Trump country. They wanted to throw the human Molotov cocktail into the system and destroy it. But Andrew offers a much better solution.
It's often like the people in the cities, they make these rules, but they don't think about how it affects the people who are rural.
All these talented people are building up tech and finance industries in New York and California. Not only are we losing manufacturing jobs, but we're also losing people who build up businesses.
And then his mantra was humanity first. We've forgotten to take care of the poor. We've left out the widow, the single mother, and those who do have addiction. Where is our love for humanity?
I think his platform handles a lot of the emotional content of what being American is like. Being a homemaker, not being under-recognized. This would alleviate a lot of the bad feelings in the country. I really do think it's an important, Martin Luther King came up with a universal basic income. No one's ever run on this before. It's very exciting. I'm very inspired.
Beyond the financial implications of it, he tied it to about like human dignity. There's such profundity to that, the idea that a presidential candidate could run on something that's that human.
Democracy was a redistribution of power in a world of kings. Universal basic income is a redistribution of power in a world of billionaires.
A neuroscientist said to me, the enemy of universal basic income is the human mind. So that, in many ways, is what we have to overcome.
One of my favorite things about this campaign is finding common ground with people who I thought I was so different from.
Our country's so divided, our country's so divided. Are we more divided?
Most Americans agree on most things if you frame them in a certain way.
Agreed.
It's just right now you have this coded language that has led to tribalism. I did not understand the coded language. I was just presented arguments in what I thought was English and numbers, and it drew in a different set of people.
I'm like, wow, that's really refreshing. I don't care what party they're from. I just want someone to get into the White House and try to fix some of this nonsense, and then we can move on.
Most Americans feel like the political parties have been playing you lose, I lose for years. And you know who's been losing this entire time? We have.
I saw Andrew running the oldest presidential campaign, yet somehow he was attracting Trump supporters and moderates and independents and people that were completely disaffected by politics.
The only true bipartisan experience I've ever had in my life was being in the Yang Gang.
Now I'm a Yangocrat, but only for Andrew Yang. I'm only here on the Democratic side to vote for Andrew Yang.
The Yang Gang is literally a place for anybody. We accepted everybody with open arms and love. And you create something like that, you can be a great inspiration to your community.
You and I came to that realization. You were a former Trump supporter, and I was a Bernie supporter, and it just showed that we're all in this together.
It was like the first beacon of hope that I've had in 2 years.
He elevated discourse in a way that I hadn't seen before in politics.
Politicians are all about platitudes. Oh yes, this is a very big problem. We will do something about it. Something job. You've heard it,
Same typical political rhetoric that I've heard my whole life. What is normal politics? We don't want it.
He sounded different than the rest of them.
Democrats and Republicans, they don't work with each other.
These teams are playing against each other.
A lot of the commentary revolves around it's the other team's fault. There's enough fault to go around, but at some point, someone has to govern.
Nobody wants to actually do anything. To do big things, you have to destroy the existing order. And the existing order, very profitable for a lot of people.
There are a lot of structural incentives around trying to get people to dislike the other people.
We've got massive news conglomerates feeding us hatred and fear of our fellow Americans 24 hours a day.
This all feels very fabricated to pit us against each other.
My little personal pet project is to get the right wing and the left wing populists to realize they're angry at the exact same people.
Most of the time it's been a broke vote against people who are rich and empowered.
What if we hated each other less and the elites more?
And they all are on the same team and they're more than happy to keep us divided so that we can all fight amongst ourselves.
That's what we have to put a stop to. We have underinvested in the integrity of our society. I proposed an American exchange program where your senior year in high school, you go to another part of the country.
Love it.
Your family.
Love it.
You live and work there for 6 to 8 weeks.
That's
And then
genius.
and it's the kind of thing that would build national integrity.
If there ever were an excuse to shed some old biases, it's almost like a fresh start.
Yes.
I started to develop this compassion for my fellow Americans. And for the first time in a long time, I was really proud to be an American.
Up until that point, I had become very disengaged with politics.
I didn't think that politics was something I had to worry about.
I fell into the trap that I think a lot of us do, thinking things will just work themselves out.
I thought it was going to take care of itself.
Things don't just work themselves out.
People fight tooth and nail for power.
It takes a lot of people coming together to make those changes. I think people are ready for someone who's going to tell them the truth.
There's just something about this guy that makes me believe.
I'm excited.
That makes me excited about the future, makes me feel hope, makes me feel like we really could be great for everybody.
I really do think that he can change America.
We could change the world.
We can move this country forward.
I do believe that we really can make a difference.
So you're taking action.
I'm taking action.
You gotta believe he's not alone in this. Canada is phenomenal, but we have to do our part.
I just finished watching the DNC speech. He killed it. He couldn't have killed it anymore.
So the question is, what are the Democrats going to do about it?
Look, he's smiling. She's smiling. I feel like I'm starting to see them warm up to him. What if we don't have to fight the DNC? But what if, for Andrew, they actually treat him fairly? I don't know. I mean, it's actually very exciting. Maybe we just witnessed a turning point.
Yeah, listen, we've seen bigger crowds, more energy, more excitement for Yang over the last 4 to 5 months. He's really generating some buzz here and nationally. Fundraising is up, poll numbers are up, and the energy and the excitement of that Yang gang, we see it all the time on the ground here.
What a crazy event that was today. I mean, the energy that was there. Shout out to the Yang stream. I know they were up to like, I think a couple thousand people watching at once.
And I mean, it was an extraordinary amount of creativity, artistry, and humanity put into a political rally. It's not hard to get a $5,000 budget from a big donor, go out and print a bunch of signs. It's a lot more difficult to have a following that organically wants to make its own stuff. And who else has crowdfunded their own third-party, straight-up Google Andrew Yang Sky Band?
And flew it around the event all night. Huge turnout, tons of positivity. I think it's the energy he brings, the energy people felt.
There was just so much excitement. You know, it's so real and raw. You just keep getting more and more momentum. Other people are gonna notice and they're gonna start to get a little curious. So we need to be on the ball. We need to make it easy for people.
Andrew Yang's campaign is very different. A lot of it is happening outside of the actual Yang campaign orbit.
I started my campaign with perhaps 5,000 followers. So I have like this relationship with Twitter where it was just me and nobody listening. And then when folks started following me, they were all Yang gang. So I ended up with this group of people that was very like-minded, tired of politics as usual, and wanted to talk about different ways we can solve our problems and bring people together.
Everywhere I looked on the internet, I saw Yang Gang, and I was like, this feels like an organic phenomenon. This feels like something that's not going away.
The Yang Gang has completely hijacked the game, and they are catapulting him to victory.
It was an early indication of the fire that you were able to ignite organically despite having no participation from the media.
They are so organized.
They plan when they're going to tweet so that they all go trending.
We're able to trend on demand. I can't tell you how powerful that is.
That leads more pro-Yang tweets to be seen by more users, and they usually tie it with fundraising goals.
The Yang Gang was so vital to my campaign gaining any traction because reporters would ignore me, and then all these people on Twitter would be like, hey, why didn't you include Yang in that story?
Reaching out to different reporters and like, have you heard of Andrew Yang? Have you reaching out to celebrities? It was like, whatever we could do.
That's like the best use of Twitter, or no platform has the media presence.
They're all over social media, and it's unofficial. It's clearly working for Yang. They raised $10 million in the last quarter, and it's allowed Yang to open up offices in early voting states.
You know, they raised $10 million, but they still got like $6 million in the bank. Their cost efficiency is incredible.
You could put a dollar value on Twitter trends. If you're a company and you want the top trend of the day, you pay $200,000. But we had a few that were like #1.
And internationally too.
Yeah.
We only need a fraction of what other campaigns are trying to raise to have equal or better results.
And it's free. That's really the whole point. The campaign's not spending a dollar, and we are able to create value.
And that is why his campaign is so cost effective. It's because of us.
The Yang Gang was also very positive generally.
Crazy how positive comment sections are on Yang videos.
When there was that concern about another YouTuber, you all of a sudden started seeing people saying, let's go flood his comment section and tell him nice things. We kill him with kindness.
I freaking love that.
Journalists actually said to me numerous times were like, your people are the most courteous,
calm, rational, kind. Yeah.
We saw that example from Andrew. He lived it. Of course you're gonna like overflow it back to other people.
It is so weird, the age that we live in, where this can happen.
I call this the best serendipitous thing in my life. We are at the first step, the momentum.
We're doing it. Like, we're making this happen. It's so incredible where this campaign is headed, and we are co-creators in our future. Thank you so much for putting in all your time and effort and heart into this campaign, because you know that it's more than just a political campaign. You are part of history. You're part of history.
More candidates are announcing their fundraising numbers for the third quarter, but one candidate, for some reason, appears to continue to be excluded, forgetting completely the fact that Andrew Yang raised $10 million.
Regular people are putting their money towards a candidate because they're inspired.
You know what? When I go to the polls, I will not be voting him. I don't expect to see his name on the ballot. I think he's been a distraction.
So you're telling me as an American, donating to somebody that inspires me is a joke?
I don't think he's a serious candidate. Yeah, he's just the average guy running for president.
I'm a college student. I'm not rich. I never donated to anybody in my life. I have a recurring donation to this guy. When is it gonna click for these people? This is a democracy. We're tired of mainstream media trying to make decisions for us.
Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Yeah, we raised $10 million in the last 3 months, and it would never have happened without you all. So hope it felt good. Hope it felt like you were part of history. Together, we can upend our politics as usual system and try and solve some of the real problems on the ground. And so people looking up and saying, wow, let's see. I mean, Yang is 6th, 5th, or 4th, depending upon the poll. Just raised 8 figures and is going to play and is showing stratospheric growth in a way that other candidates are not. Can we really put a ceiling on this? No one knows. I have to say it feels like I'm kind of transferring energy from one point to another. I don't know how else to put it, but like I feel like there's something bigger going on, and like there's this whole wave that's bigger than me. And it's recognition that we can do better than this, and there's nothing stopping a majority of us from getting together and making those solutions a reality. This is still a democracy, and we're proving it every day. Watching us break down barriers and remove any reasons for doubt, it's glorious. The big question is how much we can get done, how quickly. We've got 4 months to move some mountains, but it's like the mountains are sprouting wheels. You know what I mean?
No idea what you mean.
It's like, how are we going to move that mountain? And then you look up and you're like, wait.
Oh, it's on wheels.
Yeah, there are wheels on the mountain. Those wheels weren't there before. I'm not sure that metaphor has ever been used in human history because it's just so out there. But that's the Yang Gang for you. There hasn't been a campaign like this in history either, and we're going to break new ground. This is very much, to me, a benchmark for the campaign, but nowhere near our high point. And I have always had a vision for what the high point looks like, and it's bigger and better than anything we've seen thus far. More human, too.
I'm actually watching the feed, too, so this is meta.
That's very meta.
Yeah, that's so meta.
So we'll see you on the trail very, very soon. We're going to have a whole combination of campaign events and rallies. This last rally in Los Angeles was epic, and we're actually trying to find ways to make them more fun and artistic and human. Thank you, Yang Gang. We'll see you very, very soon. Love you all. $10 million, Q3, never would have happened without you all. What happens in Q4? I have a feeling you haven't seen anything yet.
I do worry a little bit that when you look at the media coverage, it just seems very disproportionate to the energy on the ground.
Yeah. Hugely disproportionate.
So we've been devouring every piece of media that we can get our eyes and our ears on, and we have been stupefied as to what the media's problem is in both representing and understanding Andrew Yang. We don't think it's that hard to understand. Yet, piece after piece, it's actually got to the point of frustration, Cody.
If you want to talk about who are the 6 most newsworthy people running for president, I would say it's the 6 people leading the polls. Biden, Sanders, Warren, Harris, Buttigieg, Yang, he's getting less coverage than Tim Ryan, Bill de Blasio, Gillibrand, who has dropped out of the race.
It's crazy how they continue to ignore him.
Nobody's talking about him in the media.
This goes beyond personality. There's measurable quantifiers. It's beyond the realm of what could be considered human error and incompetence into the realm of what literally must be avoidance. I'm sorry. There's no real other explanation for it in my mind.
The poll that this CNN graphic is talking about had Andrew Yang at 3% and then 7 candidates tied at 1%. For whatever reason, CNN decided it wasn't worth showing Andrew Yang.
Here, look at this. You notice anyone missing? It's like, it's crazy. They're like, sorry, there just wasn't space.
But it would fit perfectly.
Exactly. They centered the bottom row to leave out one spot. It goes on and on and on and on and on.
This is one of my favorite clips of the 2020 presidential election cycle so far. Every time I watch it, it makes me smile.
Who else is on that stage with the former vice president, with Bernie Sanders? You know, Andrew Yang, Christian. Oh, my screen just went out.
Look at this. Look how many people are on this graphic, and where do you see Andrew Yang?
Oh my gosh, I'm not even seeing him.
So
Wait,
he's
is he
this
even
one.
on that?
No,
graphic?
he isn't.
Oh my
Hickenlooper
gosh.
is. He dropped out.
I love this photo. Where the fuck is he? There's space for another face here.
It would be perfect.
He's above O'Rourke and this phantom undecided. Here you go. There's just not enough space for Yang. He doesn't exist to these media people.
I don't know if you're familiar in magic with the concept of magician's choice. You think you've made a decision, but in fact, the whole game is that the magician was pushing you without your knowledge. They've been playing this game with Ron Paul, with Bernie Sanders.
It's like a chicken and the egg, right? Because the mainstream media will cover you when you're higher up in the polls, right? So how do you get higher up in the polls without mainstream media coverage?
My feeling is that what you're on right now is the equivalent of pirate radio. It's one of the reasons that we need to make sure that these channels are opened to the very people that the DNC doesn't want running. And the thing that I hate is that we're in this William Tell situation where we've got to run against our own party.
This is the problem with stuff like this, though. It gets your brain working where it's like, dude, I've seen MSNBC just screw him out of stuff 15 times. Am I really going to believe this time was an accident?
I'll be damned if I'm going to listen to a situation in which you're shut out of airtime and you're pushed off to the side of the graphic.
How many times I got to see evidence where I go, wow.
John Yang crowd surfs. This was just recent. They didn't get his name. John Yang?
Small demographic by small demographic, America is slowly learning that the broadcast media is a club, and unfortunately, you are not part of it.
I do see how skewed the media is, and it's nauseating.
You know, you have these institutions with certain incentives and certain relationships. They're going to be naturally protective of the folks that they think are on the inside and be naturally very leery of the people that they think are on the outside. But one of the themes of this era is that there are more of us on the outside catching on.
CNN revealed its debate lineup for October 15th. I couldn't help but notice a familiar face is closing closer and closer to the center. Yang's slow march to the center of the stage, it comes on the heels of his fundraising announcement. That $10 million figure is quintuple what his campaign raised in the previous quarter. So much of the candidacies of major parties are about litigating the latest political story or finishing the battles of the 20th century. Yang isn't from here. He hasn't touched our political system. So his analysis of the problem and his answers to these questions are exactly the way a normal, smart person might actually look at what the hell is going on over here.
So the next debate, they winnow them all down. It was 20 candidates at the time and 2 nights, and they went down to 10. And we remember doing a mock debate and like, man, like, how are we going to stand out?
In America today, everything revolves around the almighty dollar. It's time to trust ourselves more than our politicians. That's why I'm going to do something unprecedented tonight.
They gave us an opening statement and we're like, screw it, man. Let's just give money away.
If you believe that you can solve your own problems better than any politician, and tell us how $1,000 a month will help you do just that.
A lot of people did not like this idea. A lot of Yang Gang not like this idea.
Man, okay. When he landed this, there was just like this very long pause. What really bothered me, of course, was the reaction from the stage. They were mocking him. I hated that reaction. Politicians spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on ad revenue that helps one person, themselves. Their one TV ad could be used to pay 10 families $1,000 a month for a year. He's proposing something that's actually going to benefit people so you can spend more time with kids, so you can do more of the things you love, and you don't have to work 2 minimum wage jobs and only just barely get by. And they're laughing at it.
It's original, I'll give you that.
That just really ticked me the F off.
The goal of my campaign is to make this an economy that allows us to live our human values and aspirations.
What were your thoughts when he gave away money in Houston?
Yeah, I was not a fan of the idea. I think it paid off, like if you run the numbers.
Yeah. The worst thing that we were worried about was being irrelevant. They wanted us to fade away. They were not going to cover us. So we forced him to talk about us. And Andrew Yang was the number 4th Google search term in the entire world for 2 days. We broke our website. It was just like literally 2.5 million people in 3 seconds. And then we qualified for the next 2 debates. After Houston, we could not go anywhere without being recognized.
There's the people on one side and the money on the other. The only way for us to win is if we bring them together.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
He's already won an important battle in that people are talking about universal basic income.
Right.
Is it massively popular yet? No. But he put a big, potentially transformational idea that was not on anyone's radar on the map in our political discussion.
Are you sure you want this job? You see what happens to a president of the United States. Do you really want jackals like me coming at you on a 24/7 basis about everything you do and eat?
There are 2 approaches to a problem. Someone else will take care of it, or you're going to have to take care of it yourself. And unfortunately, the first one doesn't work. So we're facing some of the biggest problems for your kids and mine. And if no one else is going to take care of them, then I'm very happy to step up and do all I can.
I'm a caregiver for my mother. She's 86, and I started a business last year after a divorce. I no longer have to go, should I, could I wish I could. I can take care of things that happened to me in the past. And now my future looks a lot brighter.
It's not about the money, but it's about the day-to-day, the things that I can, just like everyone here.
This makes me so
I haven't gotten emotional like this.
I was in a car accident where I had to stop playing music. And eventually I ended up getting sick. It's life-changing,
She's living day to day in a car, so I'm going to be giving the money to her. She helped me when I was homeless, and now I get to help her.
A lot of people are going to be able to go after the things they want to do in life instead of being stuck in a rut.
Oh, it would be absolute game changer. You see so many homeless people, and it rips my heart out to see so many. If you have to carry everything that you've got and you show up for a job interview pushing a shopping cart, you're not going to get that job. It makes a huge difference.
A lot of times we are victims of our past circumstances, and this allows us to be able to, look back and go, I can take care of that now.
Our system has become so inhuman and punitive and just like grinding people up and pushing everyone aside. But then everyone suffers essentially on their own.
I know a lot of people are very curious about wrapping the truck. Seemed like you raised that money in like no time. Like how long did it take you to raise that money?
Like 10 hours.
That's sick. So the trailer will be ready.
For the debate.
Okay, so who has seen the truck already? Anyone?
I have seen it on video.
You've seen the truck. How is it? How does it look, boys?
Sick, dude.
There is! Oh, that is insane. This was crowdfunded, done through the Yang Gang. We're very close. Come on, guys.
The debates last night proved that Andrew Yang's time has come.
Last night, to me, it seems that Andrew Yang was the major winner. He has moved the Overton window more than any other candidate, taking an issue which nobody was talking about to the forefront of that stage.
Why is giving people $1,000 a month better than Sanders' plan guaranteeing them a job?
If you rely upon the federal government to target its resources, you wind up with failed retraining programs and jobs that no one wants. When we put the money into our hands, we can build a trickle-up economy to do the kind of work that we want to do. This is the sort of positive vision in response to the fourth industrial revolution that we have to embrace as a party.
They're saying fourth industrial revolution on the debate stage. They're talking federal jobs guarantee versus UBI on a debate stage.
That shows that there is actually a new model for politics in this country, and I'm actually extraordinarily excited about it. That the democratization of information, the internet, that the allowance of somebody like Andrew Yang who can seize upon an issue that people actually care about, the job loss in this country. Everybody can look around and know that your malls are closing. They can feel the malaise and the depression that aches within so much of the middle and the working class. No matter what happens, he's changed the conversation forever.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's insane. We have to sit back and think about that.
It's absolutely astonishing. Even if your policy is unheard of, even if it is radical, even if it is outside of the comfort zone, if you are willing to forcefully articulate an actual vision, people will come along with you.
That's exciting.
Well,
the Elizabeth Warren versus UBI, that disagreement, that is a great disagreement to have, which is how the hell did we get here?
We've had a lot of problems with losing jobs, but the principal reason has been bad trade policy.
Damn. Senator Warren, I've been talking to Americans around the country. They see what's happening around them. Their Main Street stores are closing. They see a self-serve kiosk in every McDonald's, every grocery store, every CVS. Driving a truck is the most common job in 29 states, including this one. And my friends in California are piloting self-driving trucks. What is that going to mean for the 3.5 million truckers or the 7 million Americans who work in truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out and having a meal?
Thank you, Senator Warren. I see this as an important question about I want to understand the data on this work.
Your time is up. I want to give...
Let's debate it. I love this.
I think universal basic income is a good idea so that people can have the freedom to make the kinds of choices that they want to see.
We'd like you to tell us about a friendship that you've had that would surprise us.
The friendship that sticks out for me is a guy named Fred.
Give me a hug. That's awesome. How crazy was that debate? That debate was insane.
I mean, there was so much positive support.
Yeah.
That just from random people, you know, they would just shut up. Gang. We passed some Trump support just a while ago.
They were so nice to us.
Yeah. And they told us, you know, if they had to vote for a Democrat, it would be Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just hearing that, it fills you up with so much more energy and gets you so much more excited about this campaign. So that's why I'm just glad to be a part of it.
I was super happy with the debate tonight. Substantive, it really exceeded all of my expectations. Yeah, Fred, if you're watching this, congratulations. I hope Fred knows that people are looking for him. I think someone from the New York Times is looking to actually confirm that Fred exists.
The New York Times was stunned by Andrew Yang's answer that he was friends with a formerly Trump-supporting trucker named Fred. Makes me realize just how convenient this idea that the white working class is a racist, brainwashed mass is, both for the media and for the Democratic Party. It also keeps them from asking hard questions about why so many Americans don't even participate in the political process at all. It's much easier to put the fault all on those dumb, lazy, racist voters. But if you really grapple with the fact that 70% of Americans are furious with the political establishment, their embrace of a more transformational politics should hardly be surprising.
See you, Yang Gang, Columbus. Coming to Atlanta next.
How is a man you've never heard of 8 months ago speaking after Joe Biden and before Elizabeth Warren? If you've heard anything about me, you've heard this. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. But this is not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for it at our founding. Martin Luther King fought for it in the 60s. 1,000 economists endorsed it. The U.S. House of Representatives passed it twice, and 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? And how does Alaska pay for it? And what is the oil of the 21st century? Our data is now worth more than oil. Raise your hand if you got your data check in the mail. Where did the data checks go? They went to Facebook, Amazon, Google, and the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying zero or near zero interests. My first move was not to run for president of the United States because I am not insane. I worked in the Obama administration. I went to Washington, D.C., and I said, what are we going to do to help our fellow citizens understand that it's not immigrants that are causing these problems, it is technology. And the folks in Washington, D.C. had very little to offer. But one of them gave me some guidance that led me here to you all tonight. He said, Andrew, this is not a town of leaders, this is a town of followers. And the only way we will do anything is if you were to create a wave in the rest of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. And that is why I'm with you tonight, Iowa.
Feels like this has been months in the work, right? All the enthusiasm and the anticipation for the actual event, it's finally here. And everything looks like it's falling into place. We actually gotta hurry a little bit. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good luck up there.
Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone. So good to see you.
Yeah.
Keep following Paget. She's the best.
What the fuck? He knew our names.
Guy, we need a hug.
Will you come here?
We need a hug. Oh my god.
I can't explain the pure size. This is insane.
That energy, like you could tell that it got a lot of wheels turning.
Yep.
Yes. We all got a standing ovation from a group of people that were not predisposed.
Yeah.
Just standing ovation. I mean, look at you. Like,
We love you, Yang.
How many of you drove, let's call it like more than 4 hours?
It was worth it, Andrew.
That never happens without your passion and belief and vitality and humanity that inspires other people. And it's really fascinating to see how all of this is playing out. Because that journalist was like, you gave the speech of the night. Like, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. Let's just say I do not think that journalist was wrong. One getting a yard sign or bumper sticker is worth more than a fucking billboard.
Yeah.
That's right. Because people know how the billboard got there. It's just someone dropped a lot of coins. But if someone sees the yard sign and the bumper sticker, then they're like, whoa, that's meaningful. I mean, I know what that stuff means.
I'm Zach, for those of you that haven't met. Our first Iowa trip was like April of 2018. We did our first event and it was like, this is embarrassing. It was like eight people. Yeah, like 6 of those people were already at the venue. But I remember saying to Andrew, it was like, someday we're gonna throw a rally here in Iowa and there's gonna be 1,000 people. And tonight I had like a tearful moment. 1,000 people showed up at the rally! You didn't get it. And you all feel it. You're all here because you feel it. And you feel, I don't know what it is. Nobody does, right? But you taste it, you feel it. And tonight, we sparked the flame. It's gonna grow. And guess what, guys? Because of you, we're like, hey, let's raise $1.5 million. Boom, $1.5 million.
That was the most fun I've ever had. I will not forget today.
I haven't seen this kind of youthful, committed energy in politics since the anti-war movement. I walked into that room the other night, and I was 70 years old when I walked in, and I was 60 when I walked out. It's infectious.
Andrew, it's infectious.
It's infectious.
Wow.
The energy in that room was palpable. You could, like Zach said, you could taste it in the air. It's unknown. You don't know what that is, but it's there. It's a connection. It's a family thing, man. Where we're family.
All right, you guys. Yang media blackout happened again. MSNBC again. Scott Stanton's posted the graphic.
Scott Stanton's is watching like a hawk.
It hits all of the check marks, excludes Yang, includes those who polled less than Yang.
They're including people at 1% like Michael Bennett. Where the F is Andrew Yang?
Includes a candidate who isn't even officially running.
They didn't have enough space? Oh, no. They have a freaking block right here.
Look at this freaking graphic. This is getting ridiculous. How are we supposed to consider you a legitimate news source when you are putting your thumb on the scale in such a blatant way? Any of you NYC Yang Gang folks, get activated so that you guys can go out and protest. We are not taking it anymore. This election is in our hands. And the thing is, we've seen this time and time again. It's not like whoops, this just happened once or even twice. I still can't get it right, even though we've brought this to your attention many, many times. They're gonna keep on doing it over and over and over. It is not okay. They cannot be making these mistakes.
If the media keeps excluding Yang, they're putting their thumb on the scale.
The corresponding amount of coverage is laughable.
Just coming from like a disengaged government, shouldn't be trusted, or like the whole system's rigged. And here we are, like, yeah, I kind of feel that again. You watch the media and you don't see Yang anywhere and you're like, what the hell? He's doing better than half of the people that they're showing on here. It really sucks, you know, when you just feel so passionately.
Here's the actual number of times each candidate is mentioned. Yang, none. Yang, no. Yang, no. Yang, no. Now, the reason why this is not just like complaining, when these other candidates get all this free coverage, it affects the polls, which then affects donors. So it's kind of this vicious cycle.
The process is ridiculous. Like, this whole primary is just absurd. The mainstream media like fully pushes the news agenda.
One time, Beto got mentioned 3 times. He's no longer in the race. Unbelievable. Just
It's not just the lack of coverage, it's then also the quality of coverage, which is hard to sort of quantify, but some candidates they cover as serious candidates and some they cover as a sideshow.
Yeah. Every single mention of him on the mainstream media comes with a massive caveat, a massive, Andrew Yang with his crazy ideas.
That can't help but influence people when they're deciding who they're going to support. And yeah, it does matter.
When most voters get their information from TV and cable journalists are not covering Andrew Yang and are disproportionately giving free coverage to Booker, to Harris, to Beto, who's not even in the race anymore, that's not a fair democracy.
I'm here to confront you because we need help from the media and they're hurting us.
Our trust in the media has been declining. This is a disaster in the making.
Yes.
Where this is one of the reasons why our integrity as a society seems so low. It seems like we can't reach everyone.
Right.
And the folks that you are trying to reach are getting less and less trusting of it.
Mhm.
It's like, I don't believe you anymore. I don't believe you. We have to figure out how we can restore a sense of trust in each other and the information we're getting.
Your team reached out. They said you could say whatever you want. We don't want any advanced questions. He'll stay as long as you want. This thing is as open and honest and real as it could possibly be. That's pretty freaking rare these days. Is part of what's wrong with politics that people won't do this type of thing that often?
Most interactions are much more brief and scripted and less personal. And a lot of it is the format of a cable news hit. The most time you're going to have is 5 or 6 minutes. The odds of you having any kind of genuine intellectual exchange very low. And so you just end up trotting out very similar talking points over and over again. And the interviewers are fixated on certain types of ideas and talking points. So it starts to feel very repetitive.
People say, how can you restore trust? I think it's like this. Thorough conversations, in-depth conversations, not just these 5-minute bites here or there. That's how I'm going to really understand how you think.
I think this is what can fix some of this craziness.
People like you coming on podcasts is part of how this changes. This sort of feels like the new town hall. Half the time I hear moderators ask questions. I'm like, no one's speaking for just kind of normal people's everyday question of like, where are my Google searches going? Are they selling my data to insurance companies? You know, it seems like millionaires ask millionaires questions. That's kind of what the news does.
The thing is, we need your help. Right now, you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
You just said we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies.
People come here because they don't trust CNN. They don't trust MSNBC. They want to just hear a human being talk, and they don't want to be pandered to. They don't want to be manipulated or beguiled.
Well, people are looking up being like, none of this means anything to me anymore. And you're like, yeah, you're right.
Allowed to go on the debate stage, would not be here without you. Thanks for joining us here.
It's starting. Okay, I'm sorry.
There's 10 candidates here tonight. No time to waste. Let's get right to it.
Senator Warren, you have said already that you've seen enough to convict the president and remove him from office. Senator Klobuchar, you've said that you support the impeachment.
Why are we talking
After
about
the
impeachment?
bombshell testimony of Senator Sanders, I'd like to go to you. Americans are watching these impeachment hearings.
You knew it was off to a bad start right away. Rachel starts out with the Trump impeachment question. And we said this before. Every single Democratic candidate agrees on impeachment.
Mayor Buttigieg, let me put the same question to you.
And they started the last debate with an entire half-hour segment on it, and then they repeated it all today.
Vice President Biden.
Look, it's going to have to be able to, and at other places, beat Trump.
Andrew Yang,
Senator
come
Harris,
on.
your thoughts about that?
Andrew, please,
Senator
Andrew,
Booker,
please.
do you agree with that strategy? Senator Warren, you wanted to respond? Sure.
Andrew Yang.
I just
Let Yang speak about this. He can speak about this clearly.
Mayor Buttigieg, you have said, quote, I will never...
Very.
Oh, Andrew!
He's raising his freaking... Democrats are divided on this issue. What do you say to voters who are worried that your position on Medicare for all
my God. I can't.
How much
Like,
Senator Sanders, let me bring you into this conversation. There's Vice President Biden.
No, you've not spoken one word.
Gabbard, Harris, Sire, you have denounced the special interest that
Is Andrew the only person that hasn't spoken? Can we confirm?
Yes.
The last decade.
Yes, he should walk out.
Thank you, Senator
Did Andrew try and cut in?
But right now we have I have
Democracy
led the
goes.
way.
Andrew
and I
tried,
can
you
tell
guys.
right
Andrew
now,
tried.
Mr. Yang, I want to bring you in. Mr. Yang.
Yes.
Well, first, I just want to stick up for Tom. We have a broken campaign finance system, but Tom's been spending his own money fighting climate change. And you can't knock someone for having money and spending it in the right way, in my opinion.
Classy moves. Classy ass move. Oh no, I love that.
Commander-in-Chief done.
Questions are appalling. The answers are ridiculous. Non-substantive. I just can't.
Like, dude, it's so annoying. There's like 40 days between each debate. You come in so hyped up, and your man doesn't even get to speak for the first 30 minutes. It's unbelievable.
Rachel Maddow, ask a decent flipping question that doesn't revolve around your show.
They've chanted, lock him up.
Well,
Andrew Yang just laughed at a question because it was that pathetic.
That, the next president starts tweeting. Sure. Anyway.
Mr. Yang, if you win the 2020 election, what would you say your first call with Russian President Vladimir Putin?
Oh my God!
That's a fun one. Well, first I'd say I'm sorry I beat your guy. And second, I would say the days of meddling in American elections are over. The more you invest in diplomacy, the less you have to spend on ammunition. Build a coalition that will help us put pressure on China in terms of their treatment of their ethnic minorities and what's going on in Hong Kong. I want to propose a new world data organization, like a WTO for data.
That was a solid answer.
Still a shit question.
Still a shit question. 3 out of 3 laughs. Andrew can use humor in the same way that Donald Trump used bullying and name calling. Words. Like everything you could have said, you could have said in like 3 seconds. Stay with you. I'm barely holding on. What in the effing heck is going on right now?
This is like the Donald Trump celebration debate.
You keep on talking about Donald Trump. He's not willing to create drama for their network. Absolutely so frustrating. I wish he was able to talk about climate change, the income inequality.
Under Donald Trump's
Yeah, Donald Trump is blah, blah, blah. It's
Donald
like,
Trump has done
you are
this. And it's
so
like,
freaking
how
one
are we
note.
not moving on?
Oh
no.
The larger issue will show up for me. Thank you, Mayor. Trump is the one who has created this crisis.
I don't have too many words to say, really.
I don't really know what else to say either. Yang is solidly at the end. 6 minutes and 48.
He didn't get a question for the first 30 minutes of the debate.
We knew it was going to be low.
We knew it would be low.
It's MSNBC.
But, I know, but how do you get less than Steyer?
Yeah, that was not good.
It was awful.
They pushed the wrong dude a little bit too far.
Andrew Yang tweets, was asked to appear on MSNBC and told them that I'd be happy to after they apologize on air. At some point, you have to call it.
Andrew Yang finally put his foot down with MSNBC.
You turned down that invitation and instead took to Twitter to slam the network, a decision that could be seen as risky.
These people control 2 million viewers a night, the major organ of the Democratic Party. Standing up to them, that takes a lot of courage.
Hashtag boycott MSNBC trended on Twitter.
We were sitting there watching and literally ready? We're going to make this thing go viral as soon as it goes.
Super proud of all of us for her mobilizing together because we couldn't do this if it was all over the place. We channeled that negativity into something really effective and it worked. We got their attention.
Andrew Yang, he has not been a media darling. Andrew Yang, he's getting ignored for some weird reason.
Got a huge following online, but not necessarily in the television electorate.
Andrew Yang spoke the least. He didn't even get a question for the first 30 minutes.
You have to admit, it's a little strange that he gets less attention than other candidates who poll lower than he does.
The fact that someone like Amy Klobuchar is treated like a front runner, she gets asked really serious questions about foreign policy and healthcare, but Andrew Yang gets asked, hey, what are you going to say to Vladimir Putin in your first phone call? I mean, what are voters supposed to do with this information? Nothing.
Like, I have legitimate questions for Andrew Yang, but y'all don't let me get to those because you just decide to act like he doesn't exist.
We feel vindicated in a sense. When Yang finally called it out, it felt like, you know what, the feelings that we had inside are true.
I don't think you can possibly overstate how big a deal it is for a serious contender in the Democratic primary to boycott the network that is most directly associated with the Democratic Party.
It's not about me, it's about the 300,000 plus Americans who've donated to put a candidate on the stage and then have MSNBC virtually ignore me, or when they tune in, it's like I don't exist.
One of the big things that Yang is pushing for in his campaign is all of these different policies about press, to have an informed public, and then making it so there's democracy dollars so they can match the fact that they don't have the same power that these big corporations do. But they're trying to kill that.
The internet has made it so that Yang doesn't need, he was born of the internet. He can stay on the internet.
The people that vote in Democratic primaries, a lot of them still watch MSNBC.
Yeah. The media plays an enormous role in elections, and their recklessness and favoritism is having an influence.
I'm not the kind of guy who takes offense easily, but at this point you have to call it like you see it.
They're able to unilaterally choose winners and losers simply by not talking about a candidate. Because if they're doing this to Andrew Yang, they're going to do this to a future candidate.
I need somebody who's going to lead. I need somebody who's going to recognize the problem and do something about it. And right now, MSNBC is a problem. And they're making life very difficult for people who are trying to spread a message and try to reach new voices that are getting drowned out by the same old voices that we've been hearing over and over again.
Have no illusions about the fact that they are never going to help you. They are always going to try to undercut you.
You will never get a fair shot.
It's ridiculous, and so he is very much right to call him out, and I know a lot of progressives were happy to see it.
Yeah.
I loved how he called them out.
Why did they donate? They didn't donate because he was a frontrunner. They donated because this guy needs to be heard. And so when he goes on the stage and he's not heard, that is a disservice.
All we want is just fairness.
That's all I want is a fair election.
And we're not asking for frontrunner coverage. We will earn that, but we're asking for fair coverage. By any objective measurement, we have not received it.
Have you heard any response? I mean, we saw it trending on Twitter, MSNBC blackout. They obviously know it's happening.
Let's put it this way, not enough.
The number is 32 days between now and December 12th, which is the last date you can qualify for the December debates. We only have one poll. We need 4. It's almost like the gods have just really turned their stick on us in that we're 1 percentage point off the state poll requirement and 1 off the national. 35 days to land those 3 polls, that's not going to be easy. We talk about Iowa a lot. If we don't get on that debate stage in December, that's going to be tough, man. That's going to be hard to reverse that vicious cycle because I think people will be less likely to give and it'll just sort of be this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Over the last couple days, I think the Yang gang kind of been feeling this real anxiety. I just want Andrew to qualify for the debates as soon as possible. And for a while we've been saying, hey, it's gonna be Friday, it's gonna be Saturday. Well, that came and went and nothing came out. Not even a poll came out.
It's going to be really damn hard to win if Andrew Yang doesn't qualify, and we need to be ready in that case not to waste what we have created. It is a response to an era of emotional politics that has gotten us nowhere. It is a response to tribalism that is so badly needed. We cannot let it die.
Think on the bigger scale. We are bigger than just a stupid poll. We are Yang gang.
I am exhausted. Look, I know that this recent news is demoralizing. The Monmouth poll came out. It wasn't what we were expecting. We have another poll to look forward to in an hour. We're in really big trouble with the way these primaries and the election process is actually conducted. We're in big trouble. We need to change this, not just about Andrew Yang's candidacy. So Kai is going to join the live stream.
Are the polls out yet?
Okay, so this is the Quinnipiac.
Not yet. It's not the one, right?
Wait, is it?
Is it? Wait, click it.
Wait, what is going on? What? You guys, stop it. You're freaking me out. Yang receives 4%.
Ah! You pageant! Yes! Yeah! Yeah! And I'm so happy.
We're moving forward with this message. Guys, we're trying to end poverty. We're trying to change the rules of the entire system. This is the only candidate that can ever get me this motivated. So I'm taking it very seriously. We're gonna do this, okay? We got this. We are in.
We're in.
4%, we're in. We did it. We did it. We made
it, baby. We're qualified. Pageant, we qualified.
It's worth pausing and just taking stock of how extraordinary it is that Andrew Yang will be on that debate stage while other major U.S. political figures watch from home. And his candidacy and rise is in many ways a return to the fundamentals of democracy. Remember that his qualification for the debate stage comes after he and his supporters boycotted MSNBC. Such a move would be anathema to almost any other candidate. But after he did that, he raised $750,000 in a single day and qualified to be on the Democratic debate stage.
Making the debates just relieved a lot of stress, I think, the entire Yang gang. So I'm just ready to just get on the ground, give it my all, and know that we only have 50 days left till the biggest day in politics for us, which is the Iowa caucuses.
This is pretty monumental.
I'm looking for plane tickets. I'm literally on Expedia right now. I don't care if I'm standing outside of the debates. I don't care what. I need to go to California. I'm just so happy right now.
So Kai, you're coming out to LA. Stand with us.
I'm buying my ticket right now. I'll be there.
We just got off the flight. We're here.
Wow. I don't know what to expect. Here we are.
Why is it so exciting?
This is amazing. We're currently making totems that light up.
This started when I did the first stencil. Other street artists started coming out, and then we started repasting these posters around LA. This arts movement has grown so much leading up to debates. It's been art builds every single day.
It's magical.
Yeah,
it
is
is.
a magical place.
Look at that. They got a book full of all his policies. Everything on the wall has a meaning and a purpose.
Yangprints.com. You make those.
I actually made Who is Andrew Yang website too.
Yeah.
This is an artist trap house for the next president of the United States. Shout out to Lauren. Hey!
For the last 6 months, I've had purpose.
This is the place!
It's really impressive. We don't have the ceiling at all.
No.
We have the lowest name recognition. And every time that somebody hears something about Yang, the chain reaction begins.
Yesterday, actually it was announced 2 days ago, that Donald Glover would be doing a pop-up clothing event with Andrew Yang. People say Andrew Yang's an internet candidate. How many people have to physically show up in less than 24 hours notice and stand in line for 5 hours before maybe he's not just the internet candidate?
All Yang gang here? Yeah.
Hey!
Look at that!
I'm watching your YouTube video right now.
My God.
We're getting our news from different sources, and it's making it hard for us even to agree on basic facts. And Americans don't trust the media networks to tell them the truth.
Even though Andrew Yang, once again, of course, got the least speaking time of anyone on the stage, Andrew Yang had a phenomenal night last night.
Stop being obsessed over impeachment, which strikes many Americans like a ball game where you know what the score is going to be.
It takes real courage to say that.
This unemployment rate and GDP have very little relationship with people's lived experience.
People talk about jobs. People got a bunch of jobs. They ain't got no money. You are somebody who's brought completely fresh thinking.
On nuclear power, I agree with the research. Thorium is not radioactive the way uranium is. It doesn't last as long, and you can't make a weapon out of it.
He had some cool ideas about nuclear energy, which we have to get into if we're going to solve all of our problems.
He even mentioned a word I'd never heard of. Thorium. Who mentions thorium in a debate?
Well, good for him. If you're really interested in solving this problem, we're going to have to do this. And he mentioned that.
Fewer than 5% of Americans donate to political campaigns. You know what you need to donate to political campaigns? Disposable income.
Andrew Yang makes a really, really great point. To make it onto the debate stage, candidates were required to have 200,000 donors. But if a candidate has supporters who can't afford to make donations, then that candidate can never make it to the stage. Because money talks in America, so if you don't have money, you can't talk.
Strong societies would elect more female leaders. Strong men treat women well for the same reasons. The fact is, if you get too many men alone and leave us alone for a while, we kind of become morons.
Andrew Yang needed to show also that he's got some spunk. He's got to show that he's a little bit of a fighter. And he got in there on the action and had probably the best line of the night.
If we were to put 100 democracy dollars into the hands of every American voter, you'd have many, many more women who would run for office because they don't have to go shake the money tree in the wine cave.
Thank you, Mr. I do absolutely love that. And I think in that moment you saw the way that Andrew Yang would potentially go after a Donald Trump.
How many of you all have a family member or friend or neighbor with special needs or autism? If you look around, most hands went up. Special needs children are going to become special needs adults in many cases. This special needs person can be a contributor in your workplace, but that's not the point. We have to stop confusing economic value and human value. You have intrinsic value because you're an American and you're a human being.
We have to stop confusing economic value for human value. That is the central message of his campaign.
Is there someone among these candidates to whom you would like to give a gift?
Wow. Elizabeth has done me the honor of starting to read my book. I would love to give each of you a copy of my book. I know what you're thinking, America. How am I still on this stage with them? I saw firsthand what many of you already know. Our country is falling apart. And the simple fact is this: our politicians succeed whether we succeed or fail.
Sagar, I thought he really had the performance that he needed. Yeah.
He won that. I mean, it was funny. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, Andrew Yang actually talking about the issues that we care about. I mean, in terms of crossover support, we covered it here. There is no candidate that has that. The closing statement, I thought it was phenomenal. I think he guaranteed himself a place up there on the next stage.
The smartest guy in the thing, when it was over, don't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
He had the best, most original ideas, and honestly, that cat right there was killing it.
Yeah.
But he's not what they want.
Yeah.
He's not what the Democratic Party wants, and he's probably their best shot.
We're learning Andrew Yang has requested the DNC conduct more polling.
The request, of course, was denied. The main gripe that they have is that between now and January, the DNC should commission some early state qualifying polls because they haven't had one, and I think it's in some 40 days.
He's right, it's a problem. And I think the bigger problem is the DNC in general.
And the entire qualification process.
The DNC and the media now are collectively doing the winnowing that used to be done by voters, and I don't think that that's the place that we want to be.
The last New Hampshire poll was December 8th? And the last Nevada poll was November. So that goes into this whole topic that I know a lot of us are concerned about, which is fair access to polling. In order for us to get on to the January debate, we need 225,000 donors. We're way over that number. But you also need early polling performance. But if there are no early polls, then we can't perform. It's like, well, you could qualify for the Olympics if you meet these times in state track meets. But, we're not having any state track meets. If you don't get on this debate stage, it becomes this virtuous cycle where you get on the debate stage, then you get more media coverage, and then they show more clips, which then results in more donors, which gets you more money, which then gives you more access to setting up infrastructure on the ground, which then gives you higher polling numbers, and it kind of keeps repeating itself. So thanks a lot, DNC. Thanks for all your help making sure there's a fair, open process. People talk about the media being super biased, and it obviously is, like everything else in the world. But it's not just bias against Republicans and Trump. There's bias against people who just aren't part of the club.
His ability to kind of cut through so much of the theatrical nature of this and speak directly is really important. And if the process is designed to keep him out, that's wrong.
It is impossible to get 4 polls if there aren't 4 polls.
At least give us a
There
shot.
have been 0 polls since they announced the new qualifications. 44 days since we've had an early state poll. We got a problem in this country across party lines of distrust in institutions.
Is democracy broken? Is the whole DNC qualification system broken because Andrew Yang has 400K donors across this country who want to hear him speak, and he's just raised like 70% more than in Q3, and yet somehow we are still questioning whether he will qualify for the debates.
America can't be at its best if too high a percentage of people don't believe in the pillars of the structure that we have. And when you backdate qualifying standards that seem to neatly fit some of the candidates and neatly not fit others, how do you expect people in a world that already is filled with distrust to not think this is the latest example worthy of distrust? We're not saying lower the standard, hold us to the higher standard, but have enough polls that we can have a chance to meet that higher standard. We think we've done the work. We know we did great in the last debate. There have been no polls since the last debate.
It is packed, but we had to actually ask people to start heading outside.
This is the first of what is now 6 stops, and that's just today. Tomorrow we do it again, and the day after we do it again. No sleep. I hope not until the convention and beyond.
It's amazing that we filled this place out. We actually filled up the bar next door.
There's really a bar next door?
Yeah.
That's some good advance work. So they tell me this is the overflow from the last one. Yeah. Oh, okay, go down. Portable? It's wired.
For too long, we have been led by folks who try to define us by what we are not, by what we should hate. And we need somebody with transformational ideas, somebody who represents the youthful, energetic, aspirational, entrepreneurial, and diverse face of America that is our future.
We set a goal that looked ambitious, which was raise $3 million in the last days of 2019. And it looks like we're going to break $4 million.
See, isn't that incredible? We were trying to get to 3 million. For days, I was like, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? And then
And they have not seen anything yet.
we're celebrating! This is the year that we win!
You guys seeing all this magic here? This is beautiful. See this kind of unity in any other candidate's campaign.
A former Trumper and an ex-burner at a Yang Gang event.
I mean, this is as real as it gets. What's that ball drop? This is 2020, right? That's true. It's game time. Yeah.
This all has meaning. This is for something.
It's incredible. What a way to end the decade. What a way to start a new freaking decade.
You were responsible for that, Austin.
I mean, what a place to celebrate it.
This is going to be the greatest decade ever. We finally give people freaking value.
Just incredible, this whole thing. This is going to be a very, very special point in all of our lives, I think. When we were all motivated and dedicated to a very altruistic cause. Remember that, guys. Remember this moment, wherever you guys are.
So if you haven't heard of it yet, Yang Week is 1 week in January where hopefully the entire Yang Gang is going to show up in Iowa, knock on every door, speak to every Iowan, district by district. If you don't get 15% in Iowa, you don't get any delegates. It's pretty all or nothing. One of the biggest reasons why Andrew Yang isn't getting as high polling as he should be is that a lot of people look at him and they say, he's not going to win, so I'm not going to waste my vote. But I strongly believe that if every single Iowan spoke to someone from the Yang Gang, Yang would win Iowa. And there are enough of us for that to be the case. We found this cohesive group that honestly just works so well together. And the Yang Gang doesn't really have to kowtow to like the normal understanding of how politics works. If we were all there, we would persuade people. If you fully believe in that, you should sign up to Yang Week. Get your car, fill it with people, and watch this campaign take Iowa by storm. Yes, let's do it.
I just talked to this guy for like 45 minutes, and when we got there, he was like, I hate politics. He said that we brought him some hope. I think that's the most important thing that we can do.
It is snowing intensely, and I don't care. I really don't. Because what I'm learning is everyone is home right now, and I just got another yard sign, Anthill Caucus. I am just so excited. It has been such a productive day. I'm learning that I really want Andrew to be president because I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
We just had a really awesome experience. Remember how I told you guys about John Smith? So I'm here with John Smith, and he's the guy who I had phone banked and then met a few days ago to give a hat to.
I'm a Trump supporter, and what she said made sense.
He came out door knocking with us.
Yeah. Canvassing with a Trump supporter.
It is huge. Look, and he's wearing the hat. The people who are hardworking Americans who are struggling to pay their bills sometimes have shifts during that time. But even if they want to come out to caucus, they can't because it's expensive and they work at that time, and that is so crappy. That should be a federal holiday. The fact that people who need the change the most do not have the ability to come out to caucus because they're working.
It's a fundamental flaw of the system.
That's why everyone tries to appeal to all the, upper middle class, rich people. Now, Travis has been putting up yard signs. Hi, Paget.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Do you know? Yeah.
Do you know me? He's an Iowan who requested a yard sign, and he knows us. How were you leaning before?
I'd kind of say politically homeless.
I think that's most of the Yang gang, right?
Yeah.
There's real support here. We just met them. Wait, you're not even the person who requested the yard sign.
No, he's the neighbor.
Oh my God.
That was this house over there.
Sorry, this is like mind blowing.
I saw the bumper sticker when I.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy that he's not the one who.
This house over here.
There's gonna be two.
Yeah.
The sign.
This connects people, so.
I know. I love this. URL to IRL. Good night. See you online. Travis, that was like such a magical little moment. He's part of this community online. I love the Yang Gang Pride. Like, when are you ever gonna see this happen, right? Like, people united in such a beautiful way. We're making all this stuff happen. The Q&A.
Oh, Ellis. Oh, yes. Who asked an amazing question? Yes, Ellis. We saw your video. That was incredible.
Oh my gosh, you're the guy.
Ellis, so there was a video from a town hall in New Hampshire,
yeah.
where Ellis, who is 16, by the way, asked a question, more of a statement, really.
Yeah.
Tom Perez, the chairman of the DNC, just rejected your request for the DNC to conduct and release more early state polls, essentially cutting off a vital pathway to the January debate.
Tom Perez not fighting for the little guy.
Look towards kind of the biggest camera in the room. If there's someone from the DNC watching, look at the crowd. There are people watching from out the door.
Not fighting
release
for us,
polls.
release the polls.
There's not been a poll in an early state released in 47 days. Fight for the American people. Poll the people. Poll the people.
And also, you were incredibly funny, like when you said,
so
Mr.
cool.
Yang. Do you have any thoughts on this matter?
So, Mr. Yang, do you have any thoughts on the issue?
That was excellently very well played.
My thoughts are you're making me feel better about the future, Ellis, just by being so passionate and articulate and inspired.
Man, this is like so much.
So yeah, guys,
so much love.
top.
We're able to discuss and talk and really understand each other. It's been transformative. I can say that.
We're here to deliver some votes!
The impression that I got in Iowa is that the Yang Gang was America. In America, I feel like we haven't felt in a while. So many people just across the spectrum, left and right and just all over the place.
You're Democrat, I'm Republican, dude, absolutely. We can just talk.
And just so many creative, eclectic people, so many personalities out there. And I know that usually prior to this experience, we wouldn't be friends. You wouldn't even be considering, getting to know someone because let's say they were wearing a red hat. It's like, oh, well, those are bad people. Those are racists. Those are stupid, wrong people. Or like, oh, and the other goes the other way too. Like, oh, they're just completely brainwashed liberals and everything. That I don't want nothing to do with them. So it's just amazing to experience this where, it's something I've been pushing for so long, which is where like the origin of basic income is not left or right, but forward came from. I felt that it was so important that in order for us to go forward as a country, that we have to like start bridging this divide and start treating each other as one people again. That's what America was founded on, that so many people from so many places, we all have the same American identity. We all think of each other as brothers and sisters in this country. And that's what we used to feel like. So I wanted to get back to that. And I just think it's so important that in order for us to really accomplish anything at this point is to find that shared identity and purpose once again. And so here in this movement, I see that. It's just amazing and empowering and just incredible. But it's also, there's so much hope there.
Gang, gang at 3. 1, 2, 3. Gang, gang! Yeah! Best place.
You get to see what activism and advocacy and groundwork does when you see Andrew's campaign, because you see something that from word of mouth went from a great idea to a campaign that has now changed the game. It's a campaign and a movement that is rooted in people connecting with other people, run on not playing the game in a dirty, manipulative way, and just being fun. I'm done trying to compromise. I'm done playing into a game that we all already kind of lost. Yang came in and said, I'm going to ignore every single thing that you all think is marketable to people, and I'm going to do what I believe. And suddenly I started to see ideas that I thought were something that would happen in a perfect world and not something that was completely accessible and future that's very attainable. I looked at human-centered capitalism and I thought that was an oxymoron. Capitalism works against humans. And that was what I had decided was the world. And suddenly I see, Andrew come forward and say, there's a way we can do this that actually ends up benefiting people. Put their own life in their hands. There are a lot of people in this country who I know can be doing a lot more for themselves, for other people, if they had something onto which they can fall back. A lot of just parts of our life look as though they are steadily declining. That's sad. There used to be a time when the spirit of this country was, we're going to do better every time. You're going to do better. We're just going to keep on building up, and we are breaking down. He wants to become president to lay the foundation for other people to take control of our future. And that's really special to me, because there are different campaigns where it's all about, this is bad, so just get us to the next election. In this year, it's Trump. We just can't have Trump, and then we'll figure it out. And then we'll figure it out has been thrown around for a while, and we haven't figured it out.
His name. They said other, and then you had to name him after that.
So you think he might have had more if you were actually on the...
Of course he would have.
Obviously, you guys are out here. Yang didn't make the debate stage tonight.
Yep.
Does that kind of change your enthusiasm to come out tonight?
Not in the least bit. Yang is polling higher nationally than 1/3 of the debate stage. They drew the target around Amy Klobuchar's numbers and excluded Andrew Yang, and then they refused to poll the people to allow Andrew Yang the opportunity to demonstrate his true strength. We have no loss of faith whatsoever. Expect to see him out there in February.
MSNBC messed up Andrew Yang's Chiron yet again. Andrew Yang is not a billionaire. In fact, he's one of the lowest net worths on the entire Democratic stage.
We are coming down to it here. Just getting their basic biographical details right is really not that hard.
Calling him John Yang, leaving him off graphics, completely dismissing the campaign. After the boycott, they still mess up basic facts about the man.
The fact that on CNBC they just picked a different Asian man who had the last name Yang.
It's mystifying at this point.
The media coverage and the polling is very much linked. The most important thing is credibility, is getting people to believe you've got a shot. There's no doubt in my mind that this consistent, careless coverage and smears at times has definitely hurt his campaign.
Yeah, it absolutely has. But Andrew Yang is arguably not up on the Democratic debate stage because of the elite media obsession about impeachment. That the polls that would have been done in order to make him qualify were instead done to poll the impeachment, an issue of very little importance to the majority of this country. It's just sad to see them continue to do this.
We are back here in Des Moines, Iowa, talking about the debate that was. Van, was it different than you? It was much different than you expected. Than a lot of us.
I have to just say, I came away feeling worried for the Democratic Party. I felt like tonight was a night that they were going to all put the fireworks out there. You're going to see the best of the best. And it just felt like a big bowl of cold oatmeal. And I got to say this, I missed Andrew Yang.
The debates were a disaster. I believe you said in our show prep, insufferable. I don't really know how to describe it other than a bunch of really pathetic gotcha journalists trying to catch people in a poorly framed establishment electability like.
This felt like drudgery tonight. It shouldn't feel this way close to one of the most important elections in the country.
A lot of Twitter accounts are saying the same thing. Either why isn't Andrew Yang on the stage, or I wish he was. A trend started to emerge throughout the night. America needs Yang, and then trending worldwide during the debate. This led to an article I saw in the Washington Examiner this morning saying Andrew Yang won last night's primary debate without attending it.
His absence on last night's debate was noticeable, so he must be doing something right.
It was as high as #2 in the world. These are global trends. These are not US trends.
We had controlled Twitter all night, even though the bigger thing was supposed to be the debate.
Well, listen, I missed you at the debate.
You weren't the only one.
I did. I think, you have a different voice and a voice that needs to be heard.
This guy was trending worldwide last night, and he wasn't even on the stage.
This is the king of the internet stuff that I want to see more of. Andrew Yang tweeted out, that's the last debate I will miss.
What's up, Yang Gang? So we're live here at the Andrew Yang Canvas Kickoff in Iowa.
I was just watching. I was like, I know he's on YouTube somewhere.
Somebody is watching the live stream already. The revolution will not be televised. It will be YouTube, though.
I'm from South Carolina. Where are you from?
San Diego.
Jersey.
1-6.
Yeah. Vegas. Yeah, we're from all over the place.
Everybody who's doing anything for this campaign is making sacrifices. That's beautiful, y'all.
I've never canvassed for anybody before. 43 years old, I've never knocked on doors for a candidate before.
That is awesome.
This is it.
Gang.
Precinct Captain.
Y'all have made it what it is. We can't say enough about the Yang Gang. For two conservatives who started following Andrew Yang around, y'all have been so much of a blessing to us.
And I'm just so proud to be standing here today. I've never done anything like this in my life. It's just been life-altering. And I want that for our country.
About 1,700 miles out here last week. Took 2 weeks off unpaid from a dishwashing job. Bit out my comfort zone, but I can't imagine I have to be.
This is my guy. I knew it from that time because he was a breath of fresh air. He made me feel good about myself. And I think he makes everybody else feel good about themselves, right? Yep. He's about bringing out the best in people, not demonizing the worst parts of us, which everybody has. That's what I would love to see this country do.
Gang, gang.
Gang, gang.
Yeah, hey, what's up? Hi. Yes.
been waiting for this day for the better part of 2 years, and now
so have we!
At every turn, they have said, can they do this? Can they do that? Can they do this? And then tonight, they're going to see exactly what this group can put up on the board. For better or for worse, it's not going to happen for us. We're going to have to do it ourselves. There is hope for the future if we all come together and actually make that future one that invests in us, our families, our towns, our community, and the next generation. So every person you get to show up tonight is literally a tally mark in history, and I cannot thank you enough.
Tonight, the presidential contest has reached fever pitch, and the nexus of the race is Iowa.
This is the moment when we get to see how our hard work has paid off, and we will be watching what is happening with you guys. John Smith is just joining us.
Hey, John.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully I can deliver good news for you guys later.
Yeah, the journey of John Smith has been well documented.
The journey of John Smith has been well documented.
How are we looking, Chris? How are we looking?
There's people. I don't know, man. We'll find out soon. Doors are closed in 2 minutes.
Wow.
Next, Jim, this is Andrew Yang's area. This is the Yang area over here. Very strong support there.
As far as I can see, I see people crossing the aisle to support Yang, and they've been doing it all over the country.
He was the best speaker.
That was an incredible speech.
We're
seven under
viability in Henry's precinct right now.
There are zero uncommitted. Ask him who's unviable. First round, we're viable. We're viable somewhere.
They didn't even tell us that the first alignment happened. No speech allowed. Viable here, baby.
This is where you need the go-getters. Unbelievable effort, Iron Mike. He went there by himself and he managed to convince other people in a tiny town. Small wins.
I still think we could get a delegate.
We had 18 and needed 21 to be viable. I'm sorry, Yang Gang. I swear I tried my best.
John Smith, he reported back. I was like, any updates? And he's like, none. No speeches. Having trouble counting, so they keep recounting.
What a system we live in. What a
together.
what. We've been close to viability in a lot of precincts, like 4, 5, 6 people. So we're getting like 10% of the vote, but no delegate.
40% of the caucus are Yang Gang in my precinct. Yang 35.
Yeah, but needed 80 to be viable.
80.
This is tough.
I just finished up. You start talking, baby. Guess what? Who's got a delegate for Yang? One delegate. We got this. We're viable.
Fair enough. Well done, Kai. Excellent work.
Yeah. Tell us the story. What went down?
There was no uncommitted. We had a mole, so he left.
What do you mean you had a mole?
What they do is they'll hide the guys in other candidates' corners. It's part of the game.
We're doing a quality control on results coming in. Who designed this process?
I hope Yang wins over there, so maybe the world will follow your example and implement you. Oh,
Thank you. Thank you from Finland. Guys, keep the faith. Rudy! Way! How did it go?
Freaking awesome. The Yang camp was the only one actually having in-depth conversations with people, and we got 3rd place. I had people from other candidates coming to me actually inspired by what I was saying about Yang. Some of them actually said, man, I wish I would have went with you guys. They actually said that.
Pastor Stephen Brower says, we won my precinct.
Awesome.
Out of 9, got
5. That's unbelievable.
We had 15 Yang Gang out of 34 caucus goers.
5 delegates in Osceola, Iowa. Boom, boom, boom. This process is so stupid.
Dude, that was a fucking mess in there.
See, I'm getting this feedback from everybody.
Like everyone's just watching him, looking at his phone. He has no idea we're talking about him. Hi, Matt.
Yes, I know you're looking at us now.
There's no delegate.
Okay,
That's
fair
so
enough.
funny. We should pretend like we're having conversation.
Viable in 20 so far. 20 what? Precincts? That's not good.
Yeah, that's my thoughts too.
Pageant's watching me. Eliza asked
you had 0.
Interesting.
And now how many?
we have 2.
Ah, that is actually very
man,
smart.
That man is an absolute legend.
Yeah. Andrew Yang is 0% right now.
Everything is delayed. We just have to wait and see. Breaking app tech difficulties, stalling results.
Yang 9.
We've got 42
so cool.
total
Look,
delegates.
Andrew Yang 6. I love that so much. How long is it going to take?
I think this may take a very long time. This is a dumb thing about this process. We had 10% of the vote in that place, but we're not going to get any. We're not going to get anything out of it.
Yep, results are being withheld for quality control.
This whole process is just an absolute shit show. Apparently there was a coin toss in one of the things. I had to flip a coin in terms of who got the delegate.
No, you're joking.
No,
You're
no, they literally flipped a coin.
How many delegates you bring home for us, Xavier? 3. Joe, how many delegates you bring home? 4, that's right. Yang gang. Look at this. Youth.
Oh, that's so cool.
The app to tabulate results had crashed. They said they had not been given any other information.
I mean, I am full of a lot of positivity because I believe in this, and I do ultimately believe that passion and messaging, wins out in the end.
Party officials are matching paper worksheets by hand.
They tried to promote an app. The app just doesn't work, and the hotline has not been responsive. So this is a real coincidence, Wolf. I just got off hold.
Can we listen in as you report them?
Yep. Hello? They hung up on me. They hung up on me. Okay.
It is tails. So Pete Buttigieg wins the coin flip.
This is literally satire.
If I knew that Iowa was going to be an epic disaster, put all of our resources in there, I don't know. If you're not playing in Iowa, you're not relevant. We did more events in Iowa than any candidate that ran. ROI on the events is way lower than we thought. You can't get enough converts doing just events. It's got to be earned media. And our events were full and passionate, but we weren't getting any media around it. And that stuff has massive impact. The real key is when you're gone, the anchor, the pundits, the panel, the lead hit of the story is talking about you, and your name is in it. Because people aren't really watching the whole thing. It's on in the background in the bar, at home, and you see Klobuchar, you see Klobuchar, you see Klobuchar. And this is not disrespecting Amy. Like their team was great to us. She was great to us. We were beating Amy almost the entire time.
Let's move forward and talk about what happened here. You were here watching the folks on the stage. Who stood out to you?
When you look at the totality of the 4 hours of candidate town halls tonight, I really thought that when Andrew Yang came out on stage, he brought an energy, and you could feel the energy in this room. In fact, I turned to somebody backstage when he was out there, and I said, gosh, his personality is now popping. Andrew Yang won the night. He's really smart. He was up here talking about statistics, opioid statistics, crime statistics. I mean, he was talking about world health. I don't know. He was talking about all this. I was like, where do you have space in your brain for everything you're talking?
One of his advisors was quoted in a meeting that was caught on film saying the candidate they're most worried about is Andrew Yang.
Yes, that's what that's what we've been saying.
So let's.
I mean, he's so good in that format. Look at some of these comments on Twitter. I always find it amazing. I heard you, Andrew Yang, for the first time, and I liked what I heard. Like there are so many people out there that just have not heard his message.
It reminded you why we are fighting hard for him and why he is simply hands down the best candidate. Crystal clear, solution oriented, understanding the root issues.
I'm amazed. That couldn't have gone better. My mindset has shifted significantly around some of these things. And I think that just having the right person at the top and making sure that message gets passed down, I think that would go a long way.
He came in with an amazing performance last night. It completely re-energized me and reminded me why we are so passionate about this movement, why we are so passionate about him as a candidate, that he is the right person, that we are on the right side of history. And it was so awesome to see the reaction from other people seeing that too. For the first time, it was one of his best performances yet. We have a lot of structural reworking that we need to do in this whole election process. Let's start over with New Hampshire and let's continue. Honestly, I have been kind of glued to the TV all day. I'm nervous. I'm super excited for tonight.
I'm excited. I'm stoked.
I really don't know what's going to happen tonight.
Iowa, it did break my heart a little bit. There's so many freaking hurdles. I get why people just are not politically engaged. I understand.
We're not really seeing a lot right now.
I'm trying to find some info myself. This news is coming in slow and steady.
Boys, what are you seeing, man? So this is Andrew at 477. Shoot.
I thought of all of the places that we're going to sort of surprise, it's going to be here. But, we're getting off to an average start, shall we say, per the polls.
We got about 3 minutes left of the polls closed.
All the polls in New Hampshire are now closed. Let's get a key race alert for everything stand right now.
Those different types of things.
All right, on.
Right, some news to report, and that is sources are telling us that Andrew Yang is planning to suspend
his campaign. He's planning to do so in the speech that he will give in New Hampshire.
What?
About 15 minutes.
No.
This, as you can imagine, was not an easy decision.
It's all coming out, but it's over.
He literally came from nowhere. Nobody had ever heard of him.
No.
And he got to the debate stage, and he got higher in the polls than several elected officials, very well-known name brand elected officials.
I have been in the room with the people who are meant to steer our society. The machinery is weak. The institutionalization is high. The things you fear to be true are generally true. We are capable of so much better. Is there enough character and will and confidence and independence left to build the world and do what is required? Is there enough empathy? The choice is to cut and run or to stand and fight. The revolution will happen either before or after the breakdown of society. We must choose before. It will not be easy. We all have dysfunction within us, darkness and pain, contempt and resentment, greed and fear, pride and self-consciousness. Even reason will hold us back. Through all of the doubt, the cynicism, the ridicule, the hatred and anger, we must fight for the world that is still possible. Imagine it in our minds and hearts and fight for it. Fight for each other like our souls depend on it. Climb to the hilltop and tell others behind us what we see. What do you see? And build the society we want on the other side. Get up. It's time to go. What makes you human? The better world is still possible. Come fight with me.
I've always felt kind of alone in this. There's people out there.
Honestly, everything that's happened over the last 6 months or so, it was supposed to happen. I didn't know what I had found, and I didn't know where it would take me. I just wanted to put it out in the world that certain things are possible.
This type of mindset and mentality will always be there. This has to be the future. This has to be the world that we choose to live in.
There's been a vision that's been put forth of what this country could be. Now I know what we should be fighting for. We're just getting started.
There have been fires lit that are not going to fade away.
You shared this vision and greater purpose. It was powerful. Yeah, really powerful.
I think I kind of found where I need to be in the world.
It was really hard to do that. We knew what you guys had put into it. We knew what we had put into it. Like, we didn't want to suspend. No one did.
It's hard. I'm grateful to everyone who's just trying to push for something positive that they believe in, because it takes a lot of courage, spirit, selflessness, and you get disappointed a lot.
I can't tell you how sad I am that Andrew Yang is leaving this race. I think that he represented a positive populism. So much of politics now is, who do you hate? Do you hate the liberal elite? Do you hate immigrants? Do you hate billionaires? You could join the Yang gang and not hate anybody. He just wanted to make sure that we retooled the economy for these new challenges. And I just think that from a decade perspective, he may wind up being a much more significant voice than we recognize tonight.
Everybody was fired up, man. We were all ready to go. And it was just like, oh, I felt like we were on the cusp of making history. We may still make history after all.
When the campaign ended, it was certainly a sad day, but immediately the thought was, what's next? You know, Andrew was a nobody. He was a nobody that did really great work, a nobody that helped people. But for someone to rise like he did and to have a group of really passionate, dedicated supporters take a chance on him, you don't have that life experience and then say, now it's time for me to rest. That's not what happened.
Today we are launching a new nonprofit called Humanity Forward that will champion universal basic income. We already have pledges of $3 million that we're going to give away to everyday Americans.
The system is not built for outsider candidates. So it's a testament to the Yang Gang that we were able to push through so much of the establishment walls and biases to get him this far. He did just amazing things, but really The Yang Gang needs to understand that you really made that possible because the cards are stacked against us.
Imagine, if you will, people that left their jobs or law school or whatever and took giant pay cuts to come work for the Andrew Yang campaign when no one knew who I was. You know?
It's a special thing.
It's a special thing.
You believed in this guy when a lot of other people did not. We're not going anywhere.
Know that we share the same aspirations for ourselves and our family members. We have much more in common if we sit down with each other than not. And this gathering is proof of it, because look at you all.
We need to be more engaged as citizens. Like, things have gotten so bad. As that grows, we've just become more complacent, and we're just like, look, I just don't want to worry about this. I just want to do my own thing, call this one space in my house, and I'm going to be okay here. Forget about the rest of it. And when we do that, all this shit happens. Democracy is not a spectator sport.
The Yang Gang's not going anywhere.
The thing that animated the Yang Gang was this underlying frustration with the whole system. This whole system is effed up, and here's someone that's talking to us in a very different way.
He was speaking truth. He was speaking a truth that people haven't heard, but they need to hear. Think differently.
It was amazing. You know what I mean? This ride was incredible. There will be a time when Andrew Yang is going to come back out and he's going to announce he's running for president. And in that moment, we will need you again. We weren't an organized bunch. We didn't know a lot of things. I wasn't as smart as I'm going to need to become, and I didn't know as much as I'm going to need to know. But in 4 years, you're going to be in a better position to offer something to this movement, and we're going to need you at that particular time. So I don't want anyone to hold their head down because, you know, again, we're just a group of people who were passionate about a candidate or about an idea. So how could you know? But you will in 2024.
We're not going anywhere. We're coming back. We're coming at you. And 4 years from now, we will remind you of this moment. All right, cheers.
Cheers. As soon as you and Andrew say go, the troops are ready, man. We're fired up.
Loud and clear, Tom. Loud and clear.
The moment that Andrew does anything, that's huge, like a huge catalyst. It's going to bring us all back together. This exists. There's a community out there of like-minded people who really support policies that you care about, and you can work with them and you'll feel welcomed. You'll feel part of something. You'll get some meaning and purpose out of it because it feels good to fight for what you believe in.
Your mind, the mentality you bring to it, and what was in your heart that drove you through it means everything to people out there.
Oh, thank
Yang
you.
Gang
Thank you so
is
much.
real right now.
Yang Gang.
I stand before you tonight and say that while we did not win this election, we are just getting started.
We are the Cavalry.
Are you surprised to see a crowd this big for someone who's never held federal or national office?
I must admit that I really was surprised. People are yearning for innovative ideas, and he's got some innovative ideas.
The hashtag Dance for Yang. What is that about? Why are people...
I'll show you what it's about then.
It's often said that UBI is an idea without an ideology. So how would you define your political ideology?
I would define my ideology as deeply practical.
Is that a political ideology?
Well, it ought to be.
I think Andrew Yang stood out had he had more time on stage to answer questions. I think he could have put them all in his pocket.
literally one of the craziest political come-up stories I've ever seen.